Hello and welcome to the Holler Podcast, episode 14 of season 2. My name's Stephen Borbella, driver of the number 2 Next Level Motorsports Ford Mustang. I'm joined by one familiar face and a not so familiar face. Carl, we'll start with you. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, guys. This is Carl Pooler, driver of the 71 Limitless Esports Chevrolet ZL1 Camaro. And across the screen there, it is not Richard Wolsifer. We have an imposter tonight. That is the 77 part-time driver of Gavyn Rogers. And, Steven, I know you say he's kind of new, but we're used to seeing him in the winner's circle.
Yes.
And we found that this last week. Gavyn, how you doing?
I'm good. To introduce myself, I am Gavyn Rogers, driver of the number 77 Next Level Motorsports Ford Mustang. I am part-time. I just raced Auto Club last week, got the dub for the team, and I'm looking forward to the playoffs here.
Yes, and thank you, Gavin, for filling in tonight. Richard is a little too busy for us tonight, as it typically is at this point now. He's kind of started abandoning us, but we're glad to call on you and you be available for us, so we appreciate it. And and Richard's already in chat.
Oh,
I'm waiting. Waiting for what?
He's in chat, but he can't join us. I see
exactly. He's on the road. He's probably driving and watching YouTube again.
And texting, obviously.
But before we get
on the drive, so.
I mean, yes, but he is like probably watching it and like commenting and driving. And it's a little different doing that in Arizona with those roads, I feel personally, than South Carolina / Georgia. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, they're just great roads. But drivers are crazy, so.
Drivers are crazy everywhere. But before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our league sponsors. Obviously, Butt Kicker, the leader in haptics, Sundance Pizza, the wonderful Sundance Pizza. Where Adam, I'm seeing Richard's name and then I see Gavin, but I'm like my head's messed up.
That's crazy.
That Gavin is an employee of and huge
I'm not
supporter.
Richard, I'm Gavin.
You're not Richard. You are Gavin. Obviously, Ascendance Trucks and Ideal Lease as well. We appreciate y'all for being on board this season and look forward to the future with y'all as well. But yeah, like Carl mentioned earlier, on Tuesday we had our regular season finale at Auto Club, the K1 Speed 250, and Gavin gets his second win of the year, I believe, in your third start. Is that right, Gavin?
Yeah, the only one I started Daytona, then Kentucky, and the Auto Club. I was gonna try to do more, but other stuff got in the way.
Well, I mean, 2 out of 3 isn't too bad, so congratulations there. I mean, that's not a shock to anyone that knew you before this season. I think you ended up winning 10 races last season. Is that about right?
Something like that, yeah.
So that was about a 60% win rate, and now this season a 67% win rate. So not too shabby at all. You did that winning Tuesday's race by leading 80 laps, so pretty dominating. You were one car that I saw when you were able to lead, you were able to hold on to it and get that, I don't know, couple of tenths advantage over second to really cut off the draft and made it hard for second to get around you. Take us through, like, how did you do that, one? And then two, is that your strategy for keeping someone behind you all along at Auto Club?
Well, yeah. The key thing, I mentioned it to the broadcast too, was the restarts. The restarts are key. Like, you got to get at least a 2 to 3 tenth gap, or maybe like a 3 to 4 tenth gap, like coming into 1 and 2, and from there you just send it in 3 and 4. But I had a good line on the bottom so I could kind of give some dirty air to the cars behind me. I felt like the bottom lane was the fastest. Until cars could get draft, that outside lane was pretty good. But line was the bottom if you wanted to save tires and go fast.
Mm-hmm.
I could run the bottom anywhere. It's just the way to go for me. But yeah, the restarts were key. If I couldn't get a good restart, the guys were right on my butt passing me. So that was definitely key for sure.
Yeah, no, you were the class of the field again. That's for sure. You did not have the fastest lap, however. That was reserved for Johnny Wood Jr. this past week, and Johnny was also very quick. There were
He
there
was
was a
quick.
big group of guys that could have won this race, in my opinion. Uh, I don't know if that's just because it's Auto Club and you never really get too strung out at Auto Club. You usually have a group of 5 or 6 or 7, 8 guys, whatever it is, that are right up there at front. And that seems like what we had for the most part. So it was a good time. A pretty good race. We had our practice race Monday night, as we normally do. And the practice race was not great for a lot of guys, I know. And we have a lot of new guys that have joined the league recently. And that was their first experience into the Butt Kicker Cup Series, and was a little concerned that we might not see any of them back. But thankfully, our actual races on Tuesday typically go a lot better than how they do on Monday, so very thankful to see that. But just some quick stats to go over this past race. We had 7 leaders, 13 lead changes, and 8 cautions for incident. Cautions for incident. I know, Carl, you were involved in one of those cautions for incident, at least due to my. I'll take blame for it. At the end of the day, I believe I got an EOL for it, but it was just one of those racing deals off of 4 at Auto Club. Of I was underneath you just barely on your back bumper, and coming off the corner, you got up in to Adam, I think it was, and basically had to check up. So then it ate up more of the track than I expected, and hooked you, sent you into the infield, but then you came back up, and I don't think you got damaged from that, right?
No, I made a mistake because when I spun so far and long into the infield that I honestly thought I was clear. I thought the rest of the field had gone by, and I didn't realize that there was really 2 packs. There was the lead pack that we were running with, because I think there were 6 or 7, 8 of us. Then the rest of the field, another 6, 7 cars were behind us. I wasn't paying attention. I'll be brutally honest about that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get on the track and keep going. And next thing I know, I'm seeing cars pass me. So I'm on the brakes in the middle of the track on the front stretch right after the start-finish line. And these guys are going right by me. I felt bad about that. But I was already driving angry. My night started off not so great. I got a nice chrome horn from the 8 of Brendan Maddox on lap 3. That made me use up my fast repair and set me back the entire race. I could not recover to save my life. I did play some strategy. I did get up to, I think, 5th or 6th, and then another incident. And honestly, that was probably the worst race of my season. And I got wrecked out at Indy. But last Tuesday at Auto Club was the worst race of my season. 0 stage points, finishing 11th in both stages, finishing 15th overall.
Yeah.
It was a terrible night, because after that, because the practice race, I was doing really good. I mean, I was holding behind Gavyn in second place for quite a while there until I made a mistake. So I was really optimistic. I was really looking forward to Tuesday night, and then lap 3, that just set me back. I couldn't really recover. After you use your fast repair that early, you get really hesitant about making other moves.
Definitely.
And what made it worse is you mentioned the new drivers, and I love seeing these guys come out. But on the flip side, I don't know how some of these drivers race. And I do have to put an apology to Cody Dorsey, because I was trying to make hay and go around. I think on one of the restarts, one of the stages, I think it might have been stage 2, maybe. We were going out and coming out of 2. I'm on the inside. I can see him in my mirror, and I know he's there. My spotter's saying, car high, and then says clear. So the moment I start to go and make my way, he says, oh, car high, but it was too late. And that put me in the wall, gave me some aero damage, and it was all downhill from there. I really couldn't recover. I must have gotten, like you said, between checkups, wrecks, spinouts. I think I was involved in like 4 or 5 incidents that night. So it was.
I do have you at 16 incident points.
Yeah,
it
which wasn't
is
a
tough.
good night. Lots of controls, contact, off tracks. It was not a good night for me. I was very, very disappointed with how Tuesday night went for me.
Hopefully you got that out of your system before the chase started.
Well, I would like to think that too, but again, this is like last season. I had a great first half, and I'm falling apart, coming to the chase. And I don't know what to do. I can only go to the next race and hope I do better.
Well, and we'll get into the standings here very shortly. But you ended up holding Pat there. So, again, we'll get into that shortly, like I said. But one interesting thing, I was just looking over the finishing results now, and I'm looking at the top 11 drivers. So, like we said, we have a lot of new drivers recently. I want to say around the ballpark of 6, 7, 8 new guys within the past couple of weeks. And so we had a total field of 25 guys that started the race. The top 11 finishers were all drivers that were, well, actually, I take that back. Now that I see Dakota Camper's name in there, that throws everything else off, because Dakota Camper, I know him from a while back, and that name just comes up to me. But one guy in the top 11 was not here at the beginning of the season. Interesting enough. I know there was a lot of chaos towards the end of that race. There were several wrecks that weren't cautions during that last 10 to 15 lap run that we had. So I know the results might be a little skewed there, but I did find that quite interesting because we have some very talented newer guys that are with us. Isaiah Sutherland is the one that really sticks out. He's really proven his speed in the 3 weeks he's been here now, I think. But yeah, no. But overall, great race. The big storyline of the night, if you haven't already seen the broadcast, I highly recommend going back and watching it. Pit Stop TV on YouTube. Their coverage of that final playoff chase spot was tremendous. They were on it all night because going into the night, I believe Jamie Plord had a 19-point lead over Evan Patinko for that last spot. And 19 points going into the night, you're like, that's a lot to do. Like, that's not going to be easy. But we did have our largest field of the season of 25 guys. Like, that makes it a little bit easier and actually doable. So yeah, I'm sure Evan came into the night seeing that many guys being like, you know what, I actually have a chance. And Evan drove his butt off all night. Want to give him a huge shout out. So basically, spoiler alert if you haven't seen already, Evan squeaked in
by 1 point.
By 1 point. Let me pull up the standings real quick. Bang.
See, and I think it was funny too because Evan's going around and he's driving hard and he knows his season's on the line and he's going around and it's like, sorry, but I need this point. I need this position.
Yep.
And towards the end of the race, he was talking to Brendan. It's like, Brendan, I know I'm racing you hard, but I need this point. If I pass you, and that pass at Brendan towards the last 5 laps, I think, got him into the chase.
Yes.
So
because on a tiebreaker, Jamie had the tiebreaker.
Yep.
Which
he couldn't let it tie. He had to win that.
I'm so shocked and honestly really excited that it came down to just 1 point. We knew choosing this style of playoff or chase format that it wasn't going to necessarily always be the most interesting last regular season race of the season. It was just going to be a positioning battle of maybe the guys that were already locked in, like, hey, like we're going to figure out where we're going. But we chose it because we thought that's what showed what driver's more consistent and actually deserves a championship. It sets up for that more so than the current playoff NASCAR format, in our opinions. But we got the excitement here at the end of the regular season, and most likely we're gonna have it somewhat at least at the end of the chase as well. Something I guess we can get into now. I believe Mason Houseman is going to be missing 2 races in the chase, if I'm not mistaken. He's working on some stuff for is it the college iRacing league?
I think either that or because I know he's really working on the college eNASCAR series that's getting started up, and then obviously he's in college, so I think that school is a little more higher priority. I know he really wanted to talk after the race on Tuesday, and I know we had that admin meeting, but he was like, man, I gotta go. I got some schoolwork to do. And that was already a late night, so I'm glad he's gritting his teeth and putting his nose at the grindstone, really putting in the work. So it's good to see either way Mason, coming around.
And Richard commenting saying possibly, I'm assuming he's referring to Mason there missing a couple races. And I know it's nothing guaranteed and it's all hypothetical at this point, but Mason has maybe not dominated this regular season. There were times he was dominating the regular season. There were times where he was starting to pull away with it and run away with it. Adam pulled him back in these past couple of weeks. And Mason, I don't have the official number because I don't think we have the actual chase point layout set up. I know we had a hypothetical going into the week. But whatever it is, Mason is going to have a lead going into the chase. And if he remained as dominant, he has a road course in there. We know how fast he is at road courses too, as well as Gavyn. But thankfully, we don't have to chase Gavyn this season at a road course. But Mason is just right up there with them. I mean, he maybe not dominated Chicago Street Course, but he won it soundly earlier this season.
Well, and it's Watkins Glen, right?
It is Watkins Glen, and I know Mason's very good at Watkins Glen.
My first, one of my first experiences with Gavyn and Mason was him winning at Watkins Glen in a previous league.
I'm pretty sure Gavyn was handicapped a little bit.
Yeah, I got wrecked. I came back like 8 seconds though, so.
So I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see Mason. His drive, his determination has been night and day from what I'm used to seeing, or I should say, I've seen from him. He came into this season really determined, really had a goal in mind, and he's kept that in sight. He's done really well. He's focused. Even if he's had an incident and he's fallen back, and he'll be over the radar like, man, this sucks. You know, I'm really struggling. I don't have this. You get him to calm down. He focuses. He recenters, and he's gone again. So
he's matured a little bit.
He really has. He's really knuckled down. So it's really good to see him. And even if he wins a race or two, I still don't think that it's an immediate loss of that championship, especially if he keeps up with this momentum, wins 2-3 races in the chase. Even if he misses a race, he can still get back in there. So it's going to be very, very interesting chase for the BRB Racing League.
Most definitely. And I want to argue some of that. But before I do, I'll run over of who our Chase 10 are real quick. So obviously Mason Houseman finished the regular season in first, followed by Adam Buzzio. Pulled within 12 points after that final regular season race. So like I said, he got it really close there at the end, but just not quite enough. Johnny Wood Jr. Okay, no, I spelled it right. I just saw something wrong, but no, it was all good. Johnny Wood Jr. coming in third. He held on to that third pretty much all regular season. So good, solid points finish there. Myself in fourth. Carl held on to fifth. Like you said, you think you're starting to fall apart kind of deal maybe. But hey, fifth in the regular season is very good.
I wanted that fourth.
And I was not going to let you have it.
I noticed.
Not that I wrecked you for it, but at that point in the race, it was only going to be hard for you already because I had finished second in the first stage. So you would have really had to try really hard. But hey, fifth, nothing to bat an eye about. That's a very solid regular season finish. Richard Wolsifer sixth. Very solid for Richard as well. Dustin Stalling 7th, Jared Hughes 8th, Brendan Maddox 9th, and like we said, Evan Patinko sneaking in right there at the end. Jamie Plord was holding on to that last spot for a while and just unfortunately did not have the race. Going actually back to that race, Jamie got caught up in everything that could not have. Like, it was as bad of a race as he could have had, and it was probably the worst race, if not by far, of his whole season. He started the race 21st. He didn't have the qualifying speed he wanted. Once we started actually running, he was running pretty well. He was making his way up through the field, and he was going to do what he needed to do. He at least had top 10 speed if he wasn't involved in anything, where finishing top 10 would have saved him tremendously. I mean, that would have been 9 extra points. Like, he would have been more than okay, even without getting stage points. But man, he just got involved. I think he said coming to the end of stage 1, I think it was, he got loose and he tried to keep it off of Evan because he didn't want to ruin their run to the end, basically. And then in doing that, he got into a couple other guys and had to use a faster pair, and then got wrecked another 1 or 2 times later in the race. And it's just like everything that could have went wrong did go wrong for him. Which is tough to see because, man, he had a great season. He missed a race or two and still was there in the battle. But no, I just want to give a shout out to Jamie. And as a teammate, it was tough to see that happen. But, I mean, at the same time, Evan deserved it.
You know, now that the chase is over, if your regular listeners have been out there, we did do our picks before the season started. Yeah, I want to see how close we are, and who has the best picks? Because I feel like the only one I think I might have missed is Jared. Jared, he gave me a hard time for not choosing him in the top 10. So I do got to say that. So
All right.
I think overall, I think we all did really well.
So we'll go over Richard's first. And then this is an order of how we had it of the 1 through 10. Actually, this is the final standing result, so we won't get into that deep. We'll just go over the 10 drivers that he had. So Richard had himself, 1 for 1 there. Richard had you, Carl, 2 for 2. Richard had Jamie, which barely missed out by that 1 point, 2 for 3. Richard also had Mason, so another one right. He had Jared. He had Johnny. He had Evan, Adam, Dustin, and myself.
Oh, wow, 9 out of 10.
Yeah, 9 out of 10.
Wow.
The only one he missed was Brendan Maddox. So Brendan, yeah. And Richard's the only person that did not have Brendan Maddox in the 10 either, which now looking back, I'm kind of interested by that. But yeah, Richard 9 for 10 out of the chase so far. That's great, honestly. From where we started, we'll see how your actual finishing positions hold up because those aren't looking too great, honestly, right now. But going over to you, Carl, you had Patrick.
Oops.
I mean, you and I both had Patrick. We did not see that coming. When he
We
was
did not anticipate that rough season he had.
no, and he unfortunately missed a couple races too, which no fault of his own. But when he was there and not getting involved in incidents, he was fast. But also when he was there, he was getting involved in incidents. So it was just unfortunate for him. A tough season, but he definitely still has that raw speed. You also had Jamie Plord, Carl. So 0 for 2 right off the bat. But then you had Johnny Wood Jr., so you're good there. Brendan Maddox. You had Richard. You had yourself, Evan, Mason, Steven, and Adam. So 8 for 10. Not bad at all. Very solid. I, however, did not have Mason at all because at the time I was unsure if he was actually going to be full-time. So I already missed one there. I had Patrick and Jamie as well, like you did, Carl. So, and then I had, Richard, Evan, Carl, Brendan, Jared, Dustin, myself, and Adam. So 8? I got 8 as well.
No, you said you had Jamie.
Yeah, I had Jamie and Patrick on my list to make it, and they did not. But then Richard, Evan, Carl, Brendan, Jared, Dustin, myself, and Adam. So 8 out of 10 as well.
There's one more thing to Richard to beat me at. Damn it.
Yeah.
I cannot get out of that.
Richard did beat us there. 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I mean, all three being 8 out of 10 or better is pretty good. I am really curious to see how these final standings do shake out, though. We can go over them real quick of how we have it going into it. Actually, I'm going to pull up yours, Carl. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to see how confident you feel about this positioning still, knowing where we stand at the end of the regular season. So, you had Patrick Hernandez 10th, Jamie Plord 9th. We're not going to count those two. You had Johnny Wood Jr. finishing 8th. Okay.
Yeah, that was bad.
You would take that back?
Yeah, I knew Johnny Wood was fast last season, but I didn't realize he was this fast.
I don't believe he raced with us last season at all, actually.
No, I'm sorry. That was
it was just recruitment races.
Mm-hmm. So that was a pleasant surprise, honestly. Yeah. Johnny Wood just coming in and being in the mix of the top 5 every race. It didn't matter where we were. Johnny Wood's there.
He has a chance to win every race.
Yeah, I just did not anticipate that.
You're not the only one. But then you had Brendan Maddox 7th.
Ooh.
Let's see, Richard Wolsifer 6th.
Okay.
Why you say K like that? Would you change that?
I think
that's where he is.
I don't think so. And just because us limitless guys really like taking each other out, let's look at Bristol. So that's going to be an interesting development as we go throughout the season. And that's crazy because I feel like us as teammates, as a team, we really race each other super hard. Like even harder than we race, say, you, Steven, Adam, Gavin. I think we race each other even harder, and that's what kind of leads to
That's
some of
interesting.
these incidents. But I think it's a good place just because the tracks we got coming up is, I think one of each. We have a super speedway, intermediate. We have a short course in Martinsville.
We have two intermediates, and then
Oh yeah,
everything
yeah,
else.
because we have
Vegas.
we have
It's
Charlotte,
sandwiched
Vegas.
by intermediates,
Yeah.
and with road course, super speedway, short track sandwiched in between.
Yeah. So I mean, Talladega could be anything. Richard's getting really good on the road racing, and Watkins Glen, he absolutely loves Watkins Glen. Martinsville, he says he's not going to be here for Martinsville, so Richard himself is going to be missing a race. So I think 6th place for Richard is a pretty solid spot, especially with missing a race.
Okay. And then next in 5th, you have yourself, which you are currently.
Hey,
honestly, like 5
I'm
and 6,
on
you
it.
got right on the head for the regular season at least. So that's big there. Would you move yourself, or would you keep yourself pat?
Actually, the way things are going, I think I'd actually switch myself and Richard.
Really?
I think I can see myself finishing 6th and Richard just finishing 5th, just because, I am a huge believer in momentum and rhythm and stuff like that, and I don't have that. Or if I do, it's going in the wrong direction. So, yeah, and Richard says he will be there for Martinsville.
So there you go.
I'm corrected. So, yes, I definitely will move Richard up a spot.
All right. And then getting into 4th, you have Evan Patinko. Now that he's in the chase, like anything can happen. Man is fast. He's also had issues at times this season, which was keeping him out of the chase until the end. But he might have found something.
And again, Richard corrected me. Damn it, Richard, you should be here for this. You're killing me here. We are racing the Roval, not the Glen. I think I was.
You
I
are
was thinking
correct.
about next season that we're thinking
Yes.
about. So
Sorry.
that's going on there. And the Roval's tricky.
It is very tricky. It's fun though.
It's fun, but very tricky. So yeah, Evan Patinko, I think I'm gonna put him further on down.
Fair.
Just because he has the speed, he has the skill, but I feel like he can get overly aggressive and makes some of those small mistakes that turn into big mistakes. You get into someone, you get a little loose or something like that, and it's one of those situations where, especially this last 3 races of the regular season, Evan was getting every point that he could, and it paid off. But there was also times where there was some contact, there were some mistakes made, so we're going to have to keep an eye on Evan for that.
Very true. And then the top 3 that you have Mason Houseman 3rd, myself in 2nd, and Adam Buzzio as your champion.
I'm going to keep Adam Buzzio as the champion. I know he wants it. He's enjoying Florida right now, but I know once he gets back, he's going to get in. I don't know if he's still. He said he wasn't going to get to his computer. I don't know if that means getting to a computer or getting home. That is still remain to be seen. But I do think Adam is going to get this championship, especially if Mason's missing even one race. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I do think Adam can take it. Steven, I think I'm going to knock you down to 4th because I think the top 3 is going to be Adam, Mason, and Johnny.
Fair. Very fair. I can't argue with you right there, right now. But we'll see in a couple weeks if that is the case. Gavin, I want to know your finishing order of the 10 guys in the chase right now. If you had to pick where they're going to finish at the end of it in 5 weeks, putting you on the spot.
I feel like it's really tough between Adam and Johnny.
Fair.
It's so hard to choose. I feel like Dustin's gonna be a big underdog. I feel like he's been so quiet, but he has so much speed.
He does.
I feel like he'll find his way into the top 5 afterwards when it's all said and done.
It's interesting. Richard and I both had Dustin finishing in the top 3 of the final standings.
Oh, really?
We did at the beginning of the season, and like you said, he's
He
been
was
a
very
little
strong at
quiet.
the end of last season.
He was a little quiet for the last couple of weeks, but there were flashes of we know how fast he can be, and especially Charlotte. I feel like is a great track for him. Martinsville might be a tremendous track for him as well.
He's definitely loving those short courses.
Yeah, so watch out for
Let's
Dustin.
look at New Hampshire earlier this season. He was
flat, short
on
courses.
a tear.
And intermediates too. I believe Dustin's first race with us was Charlotte last season for our long race. And
I think so.
He had some connection issues, like he did a lot last season, unfortunately. But he was bad fast. So.
Well, and Coda too.
Yep. But sorry, Gavin.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm really tied between Adam and Johnny. I just, it's neck and neck to me. I feel like they're gonna be fighting to like I think it's gonna be to the very end, like the final stage of the last race is gonna be what decides it. But,
Man, all I'm gonna say is if it's between those two, sorry. If it's between those two, Adam better hope he has a point lead heading into Charlotte. Is my thought.
Oh yeah.
Johnny has shown he is wicked fast at the 1.5 miles, especially those like Charlotte, Texas, Atlanta style 1.5 miles. So he can very well dominate that regular or the finale race. Sorry, and Adam better have a lead if that's the case.
Was he at the road courses? I can't remember where he placed, but was he up in there in that battle at Chicago Street Course?
Let's see.
I think he might have been in the picture, but I know Adams really stepped up his game at road courses.
Adam was not there. I know that. Johnny did end up finishing 3rd at the Chicago
Johnny
Street
and Mason
course.
battled a good amount.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the road course. Oh gosh, the fact that usually the road course is where I take my race off, and seeing Mason finish first at the street course and Johnny now 3rd, and I know Adam's really good at them, and I'm like, well, you can't have a race off. Like,
no, you can't. You really can't.
You have to bring it each week in the chase, if you want a chance at it. But yeah, I mean, Talladega, anything can happen, and honestly, we know Martinsville as well as the penultimate race. Sorry. Anything can happen there. Those two are definitely big wild cards. So I'm curious to see what happens through those two races to really structure what that final race is going to look like. This week is all at Vegas. We can start into that. This week we're going to Las Vegas for the Not Beer 250, I believe, to kick off the chase. And it's really a race really to get your feet wet. It's not a track that's full of surprises. You'll have your fast guys, maybe a little bit of strategy, pending how the cautions fall. But other than that, you're not going to get too many surprising results. Then we get into the road course. Who knows? Mason's going to be fast. Adam's going to be fast. Those two I can say for sure. The rest, I don't really know. I would think Johnny's going to be fast. I would think myself will be fast. But I don't know. Talladega. I don't know who's going to win that. Are you kidding me? I forgot who it was. I think it was Brendan that was leading at Daytona at the beginning of the year. Towards the end, I know Jamie was up there. Like, it is literally anyone's race. Put 25 guys in a hat, pull one name out, it could be them. And not just because it's random. It's just because anything can happen. Martinsville. As the next to final race, if those points are looking tight, people are going to be pushing extra hard. You're not going to give any room. You're going to dive bomb when you can and accept the consequences there. That night, you're going to want to tune into that race. That's for sure. There's going to be some tempers. I already know it. There's going to be some hurt feelings and some drivers that's championship hopes just basically go out the window.
Short track racing.
It's a lot of short track racing. Maybe I should bring the Denny scheme back for that race.
There you go.
Maybe not, actually. It never ends well.
That'll put a target on your back, all right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that I raced that scheme 2 times this season, got wrecked both times. Gavin runs it, wins. Fine.
And he wins.
No problem. But Yeah, no, hurt feelings galore that race. And then we go into Charlotte. It's a standard mile and a half. Usually not a lot of surprises, but a lot of races there, from my recent memory, have come down to fuel mileage, including y'all's last night actually in WSSR.
Mhm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, fuel mileage and saving comes into play at Charlotte more than I've seen recently. I don't know why, but who knows? Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a fun 5 weeks. I'm so excited.
Mhm.
But
But going into Vegas, it starts the chase, and like you said, I think it's a good idea. It gets everyone's feet wet, gets everyone established. Okay, this is the chase, guys. This is how the intensity is going to be these next few weeks. And Vegas is, you say it's a standard mile and a half, but it has some tricky spots. I know turn 4 can get really really loose. And with this update this past week, they adjusted, I think, some of the fixed setups. So we don't know if it adjusted or they added some setups or they didn't elaborate on that part during the patch release notes. So it's going to be interesting. I know, Gavin, we raced Charlotte last night. That mile and a half, but man, that was entirely different. That was a really hot race. The track temp was, I think when we started, was like 125, something like that.
Goodness.
It was
really
smoking.
slick.
It was slick, but the thing is, it was really tight. Like, it didn't matter what you did, you could not loosen up that car. I was
No rear
trying to
grip, no
run.
front grip.
Yeah, I was trying to run like a 38, 39 brake bias
Oh, wow.
and brake into the corner. I just could not get the rear tires to kind of kick out. So I don't know if that was part of the weather or if it was part of the setup changes from iRacing Season 4 update. But it was a struggle. So we will see how that goes going forth. But Vegas is a good track to take a gamble on. I'm sorry, I love Vegas and I love the puns, so I'm gonna roll into that and maybe spin the roulette wheel and see what happens. But it could be another one of those. It could be a fuel mileage race there as well. There is plenty of racing room. Multi groove. It's 3. You can go 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide. It's not advised, but you can do it. And it's depending on how hot it gets, Vegas can get very, very exciting. So I'm ready to get just focus on that race. That's what I need to do. Is I need to focus on one race at a time and try and turn my season around. This is my reset button, and I need to hit it.
and I don't know. I'm trying to look back to see if Adam confirmed. It is an afternoon race. Okay, I wasn't sure if we were doing a night race or an afternoon race because I know we visited Vegas for a recruitment race between season 1 and season 2, and it was a night race. It was a good time, but no, afternoon changes up everything completely. Like you said, Carl, Vegas does get loose. It's a fun track though. It's a great mile and a half in my opinion. It's my favorite. Like when you compare Kentucky, Kansas, Chicagoland, Vegas. That Vegas is my favorite out of all of those, just because it tends to be on the looser side, which is how I just like to drive the car anyways. So I'm hoping that it's going to be like that. I guess we'll see. There's a test session up now, and maybe we'll get some time after we're done with our jobs, to get some laps in. But no, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day though, it's far from an ordinary boring track, but it's an easier time to get your feet wet as opposed to we're in the chase, we're going to a road course, or we're in the chase, we're going right to Martinsville or Talladega. Like, you're here, it's going to get wild. I'm not expecting too much of a shift in points after next week's race, but then after that, all hell's going to break loose for all we know. Yeah, really looking forward to it. Trying to think of any keys for Las Vegas that you can think of.
You have to drive the cars around you. You have to really keep an open mind, and you have to be open to adjusting how you drive that track, because you drive it too hard, you're going to burn that right front, or I've actually seen the left rear get burned up.
Yep.
And you can go from tight to loose and vice versa if you're over aggressive on your driving adjustments into the corner, out of the exits. It's not a terrible tire wearing track, so it kind of tricks you into driving it hard. but after 10 laps, 15 laps, you definitely feel it. So it's going to be one of those, and it does have the possibility of being a fuel mileage race, especially come stage 3. That's the longest stage, and people are going to be looking for, okay, if a caution comes out here, this is what I'm going to do. And that's another thing. You have to be, John D on the spot with your strategy. You have to think and wonder, take into account who you're racing against, where you are, how hard you drove the tires, and think, can I make it on fuel? Can I do 2 tires? So it's one of those where you get to gamble. You really get to take chances because it can burn you, but it can also win you a race. And that's the beauty of Vegas. You really never know going in who has a shot there.
You brought up a good point of typically on a mile and a half, you worry about burning that right front. But Vegas is somewhere it's really easy to burn that rear, especially that left rear. And then 10, 15 laps into the run, you are sliding loose coming out of 4, especially. So yeah, that's going to be a big thing for the drivers to look forward to, I guess. And make those adjustments on your corner and try to burn up the right front and the rear evenly. So you don't get too loose too soon, and can't make up any time later in the run. But that is typically the time of the run that we see these self spins, and then a caution can come out soon after that, leading to pit stops or whatever the case could be. I think that might be a little bit of the theme. If I remember correctly, turn 4 always on restarts too. Even in official races I've done at Vegas, that's always a problem. I think people, especially on cold tires, you think that you can just run it full out, and I don't know if there's a bump or if it just gets loose out of nowhere. Usually shit hits the fan, essentially. Pardon my language, but yeah, I don't know. So that's something to be watching out for, or I'll be watching out for too. Gavin, what about you?
Vegas is a tough track. I'm trying to remember last time I drove it. I can't remember if I did a recruitment race or not, but the time before that I think was Wicked season 2 or 3, and it was tight, but I think that was also a night race. But I think the one before that was also a night race, but that one was loose, and I think the setup changed. So I don't know. Because our season finale in our other league is at Vegas.
That's a good finale.
I'm excited for it, depending on if it's loose. I did a couple laps and I was almost wide open. There was a lot of throttle time, which I was not happy about. So I didn't do enough laps to find out if I was going to be able to burn up that right rear and get it loose, which is, I'm praying to God that that's the case. Because if it's tight, I'm not excited to see what my chances are.
From all my experiences, you can burn up that rear if you want to have it loose.
Yes, but it's tough. It was kind of the same situation at Charlotte, but it was different because it was super hot. It was overly hot. So you were kind of just trying to keep the car as straight as possible because you were going to slide all 4 tires if you didn't save it or back it up. So it's going to be tough, but I think if it's a loose track, I might have a good shot. But when it comes to Wicked, I don't know how Johnny or Adam compare. Talking about my championship favorites when it comes to a track like that, whether it's tight or loose. So Adam can drive a loose car pretty decent. Johnny, I'm sure he can.
It's a mile and a half. I think that falls right into Johnny's lap too.
Yeah, it does.
But then again, Adam won Chicagoland. Johnny he only has 1 win this season. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
which was Atlanta, yeah. So they each have a mile and a half win.
And that's a rough mile and a half circuit. It's a bumpy track, so Vegas could very well fall into his hands.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think Vegas, you have a chance of a lot of different winners actually at Vegas, more so than a normal mile and a half, I guess. Going back to it, like Vegas, I feel like what you said, Gavin, is like the throttle time is a lot more than other mile and a halves. Especially if you haven't driven that car in the truck, or that track in the truck, C-Class truck, man, I am struggling for words tonight. That is throttle time 100% of the time. It feels like a super speedway. But in the Cup cars that we have currently, and again, the setup might be slightly different now since they tweaked it, but it is a lot of throttle time compared to other mile and a halves. And with that, the draft becomes very important at Vegas. Staying in that draft and trying to avoid the dirty air at the same time in the corners becomes difficult. But it typically keeps people in a pack until 30, 40 laps into the run where you can finally start breaking away. So it just has more cars in the mix typically towards the end for anything to happen.
Well, and you mentioned that draft, and I witnessed that a little bit last night at Charlotte, is you could be a little slower in the corner and try to save your tire, but with the gearing and the fifth gear and everything else, if you have a sniff of that draft, if you're only like 2-3 tenths off, you could save fuel, you could save tire a little bit more, just by releasing the throttle a little bit, easing into the entry. And then with the draft, you can suck right up. So, that gives the opportunity if someone wants to play those kind of games, you can say, hey, I'm going to lean back, use this draft, and maybe not use my stuff as much and wait 25, 30 laps, and okay, here I go. I'm going to try and make my pass. And I think we're going to see that at Las Vegas next week.
You definitely could do that. It requires a lot of finesse, and then especially with potentially dealing with the dirty air of the car in front of you, you might have to drive the car a little bit harder than you're intending to. And it's going to require a lot of mental discipline to do that. But no, that's a great point. It's definitely possible to do that and save and let people burn up their rears or their right front early on in the run. And you won't shoot through the pack per se, but you'll be able to get those spots back for the most part, if not more as well. I guess we can go right into our who do you think is going to win the race, the Not Beer 250 at Las Vegas on Tuesday, September 10th. And Gavin, since you're filling in for Richard tonight and you are technically our guest, I'd like you to go first.
I guess I have to go with Johnny.
Fair.
Since it's very similar to Atlanta in some ways, I guess. If there's a green flag run at the end, we know Adam's known for speeding in pits or green flag pit stops. I mean,
Hey, he hasn't done that in a while.
Yeah, true. His look is starting to sort of turn around. So I don't know, but I think Johnny has it. I feel like he could just manage those tires enough to be there in the front and stay there till the end of the run. It was kind of the same situation at Kentucky when I raced. He was good in the first two stages. He was able to hold the lead, and he was able to maintain it throughout the entire run. I know Adam was able to keep up with him for a little bit, and he had a couple chances at trying to pass him, but he just couldn't quite get it done. But yeah, I think Johnny's probably my best bet for Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame you taking that there. The one knock I have on Johnny, other than him saying that I have little knees, which I don't understand that insult, but I'd rather have little knees than big knees, I guess. So
I think he's saying you skip leg day.
Dude, I skipped the gym altogether, not even just leg day. I mean, come on. But the one knock I've seen on Johnny is he is bad fast in that first and second stage of those mile and a halves. But then if someone has an alternate strategy and gets that track position for the third stage and he falls back to mid-pack, he can struggle at times getting through the field, which is fair because honestly, if you're up front all day and then you get mid-pack at the end of it, it's like, oh, what the heck? I don't know how to drive this. It drives completely different, and then you're pushing.
It's that dirty air you mentioned.
It's that dirty air, and it's a killer. But Carl, who are you thinking for this week?
I'm going to take Adam. I think Adam is focused. He's going to come back relaxed after a little bit of a vacation in Florida, so he's going to have kind of a clear head, I think. He's going to be focused. The practice race Monday will probably say a decent amount, but I think Adam really likes these mile and a halves. At least he has the speed. Now, the strategy hasn't always fallen his way. We've discussed that there are mistakes on pit road, but a couple of things here and there cleans him up. I think that checker flag's his.
Very well. And y'all picked the top two guys that we've been talking about, so no shock there. But, I mean, can't blame you at all. Instead of going Mason, I do feel like Mason is in a little bit of a lull right now compared to how he was earlier in the season, whether or not it's because school started up and maybe it doesn't have all of his focus like it once did. So with that, I'm going to go Brendan Maddox at Vegas. I know. Big shocker. Brendan showed a lot of speed when we went to Texas earlier in the season. He's shown a lot of speed on the 1.5 miles traditionally. And then I don't know what it is, of maybe driving in over his head or a caution didn't fall his way at the certain time. It just nipped him. And I think people aren't going to expect him to be as fast, but if he can qualify good, I have the feeling he can stay up there. And if you're up there in that front pack, anything can happen.
You know, I just thought of this. We forgot our meatballs of the week.
We did, and we'll get into that right now then, actually. So thank you, Carl. But yeah, please make sure to tune in to the Not Beer 250 on September 10th on Pit Stop TV's YouTube channel. The race will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern, and it is the first race of the chase. But with that, we can go right into the meatball of the week. And Carl, since I started with Gavyn for the race pick, I'm going to start with you here.
You know, it's funny you do that because I'm going to pick your predicted winner of next week, Brendan Maddox.
I'm surprised it's not me this week from you.
Lap 3, turn 1. You know, I'm checking up. I'm already focused. It was a 35 lap run. It's like, okay, I'm going to, you know, maybe save up a little bit because, you know, Auto Club has a tendency of burning that right front really bad. So I was already in the focus like, okay, I'm going to, you know, save for 15, 20 laps and maybe put on the burners. Well, all that went out the window. Lap 3 gets rear-ended by Brendan. We talked about it, and we're cool. It actually took a little bit of time because, man, after that race, I was so frustrated. I straight up told him, like, dude, because he messaged me right after that race, and I just kind of let it sit on red because I went to bed. I was like, I need to cool down. I need to calm down before I just go off. And we talked it through, and it was just an unfortunate incident. But yeah, Brendan gets my meatball because of lap 3 incident. And it, like I said, it stings worse because I had confidence. I was really excited for the race. So getting wrecked on lap 3, having to use that fast repair, just put me on the back foot all night, and I couldn't recover. So Brendan, meatball of the week, buddy.
It's tough to get wrecked early in a race after it's a race you feel good about. It's so deflating. I'd rather get wrecked with 2 to go than get wrecked in lap 3 most of the time.
Well, and after Auto Club, I told myself I'm not getting excited for any more races. I'm not going to say I'm ready for this race. I'm not going to say, you know, I have confidence because every time I do, I end up worse. So I think I'm just not going to say it. I'm not going to do it.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
But Gavyn, I know you didn't deal with a lot of cars around you at times this past week. But who do you have for your meatball of the week?
I was kind of neck and neck between two, but I think I have to give it to Mason for what he did to Adam. Was just kind of totally unnecessary. Like he had the regular season championship for sure. It wasn't gonna change anything in the points when it comes to the playoffs. The other one I was gonna say would have been Jamie when I think it was the end of the stage. I think it would have gone in him for sure, because he wrecked coming out of 4.
Yep.
On the last lap, but he did get bumped by someone. I couldn't tell how loose he was. It didn't look like he was too loose from the first angle I seen, but the second one he was a little. You could kind of see it sideways a little bit, just a slight drift, and he just couldn't correct it in time, and then he overcorrected, I believe, into the outside wall. But yeah, I have to give it to Mason. That would have been a freaking sick 1-2-3 for us in those replica paint schemes. That would have been hilarious. Oh my god.
I know Adam was really upset about it.
Oh yeah, he was dead silent.
The quietest 4th place finisher.
Yes. Man, poor Adam. He just gets the worst luck with that stuff. He just I feel like he gets beat up a lot and he doesn't do much about it. I feel like he needs to be more aggressive on track.
It's a tough balance
when it comes
though
to getting bumped around.
Of someone that's in his shoes of being the head admin essentially. A lot of guys look up to him, and you don't necessarily want to see the head guy causing a bunch of issues.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks that that's the position he's in, but it is, and he owns it, and I think he understands that. He tries to stay out of it and not create drama, because at the end of the day, it's usually going to just impact the league negatively. So I think he just takes the punches and tries to move forward with it.
Well, and I think another part, and thinking about it, this may be kind of my issue too, is you start pushing, you start aiming and adjusting your goals and saying, hey, I'm going to, instead of just saying, I want to do my race my car the way it goes, you start aiming, you start saying, oh, I don't want this person to finish there. I want this person to remain a lap down, or I have a grudge. It changes your outlook, and it can kind of distract you from what you're really trying to do. And I think Adam is the poster kid of saying, I am going to stay focused. He's going to be mad. He can be really mad for a while, but he also wants to say, hey, I mean, I would have done anything to finish fourth the other night, not going to lie. But that's, the jokes and everything, forever fourth and forever third and stuff like that. It's because he has that focus, has that laser focus, and he can keep it together and not take it out on other people. And he keeps his composure probably better than most people I know. Certainly better than myself. So I think I think that's his trick to that consistency. He's always has one goal and one focus, and he doesn't get too rattled if stuff like that happens. I've seen him get taken out early on in the race, and the next thing you know, he's in the top 5, in the third stage. So I think that's Adam's kind of golden ticket. He just needs to hang on to that.
Yeah, I think when something happens to him like that in a race, he just needs a moment to collect himself. He'll just go quiet for a little bit. He doesn't be like, oh, what the heck, or scream explicitives typically. But yeah, no, it's something usually happens. He's dead quiet, and you're like, Adam, were you involved in that or something like that? Dead quiet, and then after a while, it's like he's back on the radio like normal. So I think that's just his way of dealing with those situations. I don't know. Maybe he probably just mutes his mic and is probably blurting off something.
I know that's what I do.
Yeah.
Does he use push to talk? I thought.
Okay, so yeah, I think he does use push to talk.
He leaves the button alone.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm just not going to talk to anyone. But so, I mean, yeah. But hey, it works most of the time, like you said, Carl. He comes back and from it most of the time. But speaking of Adam, I think that's who I'm going to give my meatball of the week to this week. He didn't have, and
I think I remember what happened.
Yeah, and at the time, I wasn't upset with it just because it was just it's racing. There was
that move out of turn 4?
No.
No, turn 2.
It was turn 2. I forgot what exact point. It was towards the end of the race. Adam and I got caught up in something earlier, and we had to get tires earlier. So we were on a different cycle trying to come back up through the field. And that's what it was. It was after that caution during that last long run. We had pitted before the caution came out during the green flag pit cycles, and that put us a lap down. So then we were at the tail end of the field, and we had to come back up. That's what it was. And I don't know. I think Adam was behind Mason, and Dakota Bly got a little loose coming out of 2 off of a restart, or a second lap of a restart. Put it in the wall. Mason moved down to avoid it, but I think Mason was already in it. Adam also moved down, but I saw something was going on, and I had a run on the inside, so I moved down a little bit even further, and I thought I gave plenty of room for everything to happen. And Adam kept moving down and hooked me. It was just I didn't get any severe damage from it, thankfully, but I was just like, are you kidding me? I gave so much room, I thought, at least. And I think I saw it on the broadcast, and I think there was a decent amount of room there. I probably could have given more, but if I'm going to be really nitpicky, I'm going to give my meatball to Adam this week.
That's a rare meatball there. Adam usually keeps it clean.
Yeah,
that's interesting, but that's a good one.
That's why I wanted to give it to Adam. I wanted him to at least get one meatball. It wasn't anything serious, but
hey, Adam's involved. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to get him involved. But no.
I should have given it to myself so I could got a sticker from Rev.
I've been trying to avoid giving it to myself because I just don't like the idea of it. I mean, I think Adam missed his pit box too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to read the chat going on right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rev's saying the capacity
is
of
fun
human
facts.
brain is 4 terabytes, and then Jared, if you drove every day, you disagree. I think Jared's onto something there. That's funny. RC misses pitbox.
Is Jared
Oh, man.
saying that it's less than 4 terabytes?
How about this? There is the capacity for 4 terabytes, but most people don't use that
Hmm.
capacity.
Well, I mean, technically that's true on a hard drive too, though.
I don't know.
I mean, after you put the operating system on it, then it's not going to hold all 4. I mean,
you got the partitioning and replays. Adam
far less.
storing replays and not deleting
Most of
them.
it's blank.
See,
That's fair.
defragmentation is going to be easy.
Corrupted file. But
Love it.
well, thank you, Carl, for bringing us back to the meatball of the week, and glad we got to do that. But anything else you want to talk about? Some interesting storylines headed into the chase, that nature.
Yeah, I want to hit on these new drivers that have come in recently. Yeah, Isaiah Sutherland, Eric Jensen, Cody Dorsey, Joshua Parent, Josh Anderson, Andrew Tennell. So that's what, 5, 6. Sean Thomas Lester came in. So 5, 6, 7 drivers in the past. I know Eric and Isaiah have been here for 2 or 3 weeks, but everyone else, this was their first week, and it was different. You could tell driving that maybe it was just me, but it felt different. Just because I didn't have, I don't qualify good anyway, but I had a really subpar qualifying even for me. The stages were just terrible, and my finish was abysmal. But I feel like even though I didn't have, and Jason Bottom, sorry Jason, don't want to forget you there. Even though they didn't really affect it, when you don't know how to race them and how they race the track and how they race the car and everything, it makes me personally makes me nervous because I want to make a good impression. Monday night you said we were afraid the impression we made wasn't the greatest, but I want to make a good impression, make sure these guys come back for season 3, and I think that adds another added layer of complexity for not only getting into the chase but also the chase. We had 25 guys where we're used to having 17, 18, and that definitely affects the points picture. And at the most critical point of the season, these drivers are coming in and putting in good laps, racing really well, and that's just adding to the intensity and complexity that we are going to see in the chase with the whole diversity of the tracks. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because Isaiah Sutherland, he already has a win in his 3 races here. So it's one of those situations where it's, for me, and just my personal, it was kind of unfortunate because that's 6, 7 spots that I might not have had to fight for. I might have been able to change something. But it's that mentality where I myself have to change, like, okay, we have an additional 7 cars. I need to drive a little smarter because if I lose and wreck points, that much harder it's going to hit.
Yep.
Exactly. So it's hard to adjust. And I don't think I've ever been in a league where we've had that kind of a shift towards the end of a regular season, and it's something different, and it's refreshing, but also kind of frustrating on a personal level and on points. But it's good to see these guys out here, good to see these guys competing. So I'm glad that we're even going into the chase. We're towards the end of our season. These guys still want to show up and race. So I'm glad these guys are here.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And we saw how quick Isaiah has been. I actually believe that was his 4th race, if I'm not mistaken. He's made his impression. Very well known with winning at Bristol. He ran really well at the dirt track. And where else did we run? Wherever it was.
Yeah.
Eldora?
Eldora, Bristol Auto Club, and
Chicagoland.
Indianapolis.
Chicagoland, because he had the pit. He had the
right.
pit issue where he didn't take tires.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. But he's made his presence very well known, and we hope that he stays around and joins us next season as well. Because then look, you got another contender right there already, and someone that opened my eyes. I know it was only 1 race, but Joshua Parent was quick. At Auto Club, I know he qualified. I think he qualified like second or third. He didn't get the result that he probably had wanted. However, he got shuffled back early on, and he made his way back through the field really quick before I even had a chance to think about what was going on. So those two specifically are ones I wanted to call out, obviously, out of the new drivers that I've seen that have lightning fast speed and contention right off the bat. But I haven't had an issue with any of them. I haven't really even gotten to race around most of them for the most part. But excited to have them. I know not really any issues have been caused yet so far, and that's why a lot of leagues don't typically bring in new drivers this late into the season, because it can cause issues. But from what we've seen for these drivers so far, no issues so far, and it's great to have them. It adds that extra complexity to the chase, and like you said, Carl, if you wreck now and you finish a race 24th even, instead of where we could have finished 15th with our previous fields, that's an extra 10 points. It also takes a little bit of pressure off of stages, I think, of not having to have great stages. You still want to have good stages, but if you don't have great stages, it's not the end of the world anymore, because there's a lot more cars now that take up those stage points. So it gets spread around.
So yeah, Joshua Parent did qualify second, finished 16th, one lap down.
Yeah.
Did lead 18 laps and finished with 12 bonus points. So he had 4 incident points, so I think he just had one incident later on in the run put him down. But great points day. In fact, he finished with 11 more points than I did. So it's Isaiah Sutherland, Joshua Parent, really quick already.
2
out of the
standouts
gates.
already.
Yeah, it's the chase is going to get very interesting, because not only that, you have these other 2 really fast drivers, and what if they win a race? What if they win stages? What if they do a sweep?
Yeah.
Those are points that are not going to chase drivers, and that's, again, going to increase the complexity and intensity of the chase.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to get really interesting because we added a lot of quicker guys now, and we already had some very quick guys that aren't in the chase as well. So those don't take those stage points for granted. You're not going to guarantee yourself a top 10 in every stage during this chase, especially with 25 plus drivers. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to qualify well. That's become even more important now that there are 20 plus cars in the field. You don't want to have yourself start 23rd and have to work yourself all the way up by the end of the first stage. Then you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You might get an incident, and then everything can spiral out from there. So I think that's going to be something that increases in importance is qualifying, and then, like I said, just finishing these races. Try to finish in the top 10. Eliminate any DNFs. If you get wrecked early on, you already used your fast repair, and you get some damage later, just try to get out and do as many laps as you can if you're one of those chase guys. Every point's going to matter there at the end.
Gavyn, how do you feel with Auto Club? You race some of these guys just a little bit. What's your opinion on some of the men names we've mentioned already?
And quick shout out, Sam. Love having you. Miss you.
Oh yeah, we like Sam. Most of us. No. Yeah, these guys are good. They're clean from what I've raced. I don't think they'll hurt much in the playoffs. I know they'll be there, but I don't think it'll be too much different as if they weren't. I know strategy will be a little bit different. These guys just have to be on their A game when it comes to strategy. I don't really know who's good and who's not when it comes to that. It could kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, I don't know. These guys, I don't see them hurting much.
I get it's hard to judge them out of the rear view. I get.
Yeah. But Isaiah's fast. I can see him winning a few more races. I could see Josh Parent winning some. He was good to race around. He was aggressive. He was clean though. He's fast. He qualified second. He's a great qualifier. From what we've seen in the first race. So this
he was the only one with a lap that was in the same area code as you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's the fastest lap
in qualifying.
in qualifying.
Yeah.
like I was gonna say.
I think you were close to 0.2 or a tenth and a half above third, and then Joshua Parent was a couple hundredths off of you.
Yeah, I don't know what I found, but I've been pretty good in qualifying. Carl knows from the other league. I think I'm about to set a record in a very highly competitive league. I think I'm up to 7 poles.
Jeez. Yeah, and
Um,
anytime someone's close to you in qualifying, it's a pretty tall task. You know they have at least speed. At the end of the day, they might not have the racecraft per se, but I think Joshua has the capability to really factor into some of these races.
I can see him winning some.
I could too. I do hope though that some of these guys that aren't in the chase, obviously, I want them to be involved in racing in these final 5 races. The goal is not for them to now just sit and watch basically the chase happen. They need to be involved and need to be racing, but I do hope that they are a little cautious around chase drivers from time to time. Not expecting them to give them more room, but just be cautious and try not to be the cause of an incident that involves a chase driver. Is all I ask. I know at the end of the day we are all running to win a race. That's the important thing in the time, and they can take more bold strategies to win a race. The non-chase drivers, that is, but I am just hoping that they are cognizant and take their chances correctly. But that's about it for me. Anything else I want to speak on?
You know, the only thing that I think I may have left to say about this is it is highly possible, now not probable, but it is possible that with the new talent and the way the races are in the chase, that it is possible that we might not see a chase driver win a race. Not probable per se, but possible.
It's possible for sure.
How crazy would that be, though?
That would be a very interesting storyline heading into next season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't see that happening, but again, it is possible. I'm curious to see how some of these guys do on road courses. Maybe one of them is just like Gavyn.
Ooh, don't say that. I don't want that. I want to win once. That's all I ask.
Hey, you'll have a chance. You got Talladega.
That's true. That is true. Now, it depends on if my teammates will push me or not. That's the question.
Well, I can tell you, I won't be pushing you. No, I'm fine. I'll be pushing you if the scenario. No. It all depends on the scenario. We're not going to get a Kyle Busch and Parker Retzlaff situation.
Oh, man.
Oh my god.
Poor guy. He's getting flack for no reason.
It's ridiculous. But, well, with that, we can conclude the league talk, or the league portion of this podcast. And, yeah, just a quick shout out to our sponsors again, obviously, Sundance Pizza. Best pizza in Wickenburg. Or actually, Richard. I called you Richard again.
Pizza night.
Gavyn, could you share with our listeners of some awards that Sundance Pizza actually has just won?
Yeah, so the little town of Wickenburg, they have a yearly Best of the Berg vote. So we've been trying for about 3 years, and this is the first year we were able to get a win, and not just pizza, but we also got ice cream. I feel like we should have got burgers. We got some good burgers. We got good food. But yeah, we got number 1 in those. I got some logos on my car. I could probably get some more logos for anyone else who runs Sundance Pizza cars. I think you might have one, Steven.
I do. So if
yeah,
you
I
have
know
any
they
more,
made
I
a
can
little-
add.
I know they made a little banner.
Okay.
It says Best in the Berg, pizza and whatever ice cream. But yeah, that was neat. We finally got a win on track and off track, which was neat. So yeah, they're happy about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Couldn't say enough good things about Sundance Pizza, and obviously who operates Sundance Pizza. Great people. Got to really meet them this weekend, and they were wonderful.
Yeah.
So nothing but success for them. But obviously, Butt Kicker, leader in haptics. Whenever our league gets a Butt Kicker Gamer Pro, I believe it's called, So I'm hoping to get a second one. I don't want to jinx myself, but man, that'd be awesome because those things are great. Obviously, Ascendance Trucks and Ideal Lease as well. So yes, thank you to our sponsors. And on to NASCAR. NASCAR last week was the regular season finale at Darlington. Gavyn, myself, and Richard. Unfortunately, Richard's not here to discuss. And Johnny Wood Jr. was there too. Got to meet up with him. We were all in attendance for the race and got a good time out of it. Great race, honestly. The first half was a little okay.
Yeah.
Being there at least.
Final half.
It was hot and just muggy.
Final half of the final stage.
Yeah. The end once the sun went down, it was honestly really good though. Got settled in and had a great ending to it. Chase Briscoe, big surprise winner. I don't think anyone saw that coming in.
No.
I think he was the 21st favorite headed into the race based off Vegas odds. So big surprise there, but congratulations to him. Got the job done and punched his ticket. 2 new drivers in the last 2 weeks of the regular season punched their tickets into the playoffs, which is cool. And they're Ford drivers. So Ford, I think, finished with 6 guys in the top 16. I think it was 6 Ford, 5 Chevy, 5 Toyotas.
And I also think after Ford, because I know everyone was going nuts about Ford not winning a race.
Yeah.
So when I think Brad won, and since
think
Brad
so.
won, I look back on it. I think Ford's won like near half of the races since then.
That's
So they've
really
been
interesting.
good in the cup series, but yeah, they've been hot. They gotta step it up for the playoffs still. Hamlin and Reddick and Larson are still probably the favorites. Bell's up there
Probably.
too. I don't think there's really any Fords that could like beat those 4 as of right now. Blaney, I guess maybe.
I know Blaney's a popular Ford
Brad's been
top pick.
under the
Brad's
radar a little
okay. No, he has a chance. I definitely wouldn't count him out.
I want to see Stuart Haas just come out of nowhere. That'd be neat. If they could just
Chase
pull
Briscoe
something off
champion.
and at least get to the final 4 at Phoenix. That would be
Hey,
cool to see,
and
but
Chase won
that'd
his
be
first
hard.
race at Phoenix.
Yeah, I got to see both of Chase's Cup wins.
That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that? Wow, that's maybe a good luck for him. Maybe you need to be a Chase Briscoe fan.
Sure.
Sure. But no, yeah. So Kyle Busch came there. We saw him enter the pits on that last caution, get fresh tires, and kind of looked at Richard and like, what is he doing? Like he got the track position. He still had the fresher tires than most people. Like he should stay out here. But he went in. I think he came out like 7th or 8th or something like that. And then the green flag flew, and he charged his way right up to second. Like it was nothing. And I think we were all kind of cheering for him a little bit. I think everyone was at heart of like, you can do it, Kyle, you can do it. And we all thought he was going to get there. I mean, he got there. He got to second that quick, and then just couldn't get around Briscoe. Tough end to the regular season for him. Came so close at Daytona and Darlington just to have that.
And it was the same kind of situation with Briscoe at Darlington against Kyle in Xfinity, too, which I thought was neat.
Oh, okay. I didn't get to catch the Xfinity.
Yeah, that was a good race. That was back in, I can't even remember what year it was. It was during COVID.
Well, that's the year he won in 2020, actually.
Yeah.
And in fact, that win was big for Briscoe because his wife lost his first child, I believe. So that was a very emotional win for Chase Briscoe as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea he's a good driver at Darlington. He also finished, I think, he's a good driver. He's a good driver. I mean, he's in the Cup Series. But I think he finished top 5 at Darlington in the spring, or right around there as well. Like, he just caught everyone off guard, and it kind of really shouldn't have caught everyone off guard that he was going to be quick there. But I think I looked over at Richard when they were, because going into the race, I didn't watch any qualifying. I didn't watch anything up that whole weekend. I was busy. And we got to the race, and it was top 3. It was like, what's his name? Carson Hocevar qualified 3rd, and I think Briscoe qualified 2nd. And I looked at Richard. I'm like, is this right? Like, did they really qualify that well? I was not expecting that out of those guys.
Yeah.
And Carson's race went different.
Up there. Imagine Hocevar pulling a a win out of that somehow.
That would have been
That
very
would have just
exciting.
that would have been nuts.
That would have been a quite possibly a bigger story.
And how many drivers have a win in the cup? I think it's
I think 14.
15?
I
14 or
think 2
15?
made it off of points, and I think that was Truex and Ty Gibbs, if I'm correct.
Yes.
We aren't far from possibly setting another. I don't know what the record is, but I know 2022 had a lot. I think it was like 17 or something like that.
I want
cool
to
to
say
see
it was
something like that.
15. They were fighting because I want to say there was 3 spots open for that year. I think I
But
know what you're
throughout the
talking
whole
about.
season, I think there was
2022,
first-time
19.
winners.
19 different winners.
But what about the regular season?
22?
Oh, in the regular season?
Yeah.
I think it was
16?
15, was it not? Because I think it was a battle between Truex and Blaney for that final spot based off of points.
Yeah, I think it was 15. Carl will know. He's a Truex fan.
Let's see, 15. That would have. Oh man, that was like right when I was getting back into NASCAR.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I think. No, that can't be right because he was with. Oh man, I couldn't tell you now that I think about it.
It was either 14 or 15 though that season
Yeah.
though too. There hasn't been a season yet where all the playoff positions are by a winner, or at least in the 16 whatever the current format that they currently have. However, there have been 19 winners. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry. The 2022 19 winners was through 29 races.
Oh, so that wasn't the full season.
That was not the full season.
Yeah.
It might have been the final number too. But now I'm seeing that. No, it was the final number 2. 19 different drivers. Scroll through. Sorry. Wish I had this number beforehand. But I think it's happened 4 or 5 different times where there have been 19 different winners in a season. 2022, 2001, 1961, 1958, and 1956. There have been 19 different winners in a season.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, to have 5 new winners, that's still a lot to ask for, I feel like, in 10 races, especially considering the guys that have won already. There aren't a lot of guys that you wouldn't expect to win yet. I mean, you could throw in Kyle Busch. You could look Chris Buescher. I mean, you could say Bubba could be getting a win that doesn't have a win yet. Truex for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ty Gibbs won a race either. Like,
What?
at the end of the day, he's a talented kid, but that's 5 right there. It's possible, but I wouldn't hold my breath. But hey, maybe SVG wins at one of these 2 road courses.
I wouldn't be
He-
surprised.
He needs a little bit of luck. He's been struggling this season on the road courses. Looking at Chicago
Yeah, it was
street
tough luck.
course, and that was rough. And
I don't think Watkins
Watkins
Glen favors him very well.
No, it's definitely one of those situations where he's still getting his feet under him, but he's doing really well in the Xfinity series for those road courses. I think he's won 3 of them.
Yeah.
So he's doing really well for himself in the Xfinity series.
Who knows? We got 10 weeks to figure that out. It'll be exciting. I hope we get close to it, though. But what I want to do is I want to figure out from you guys, and I wish Richard was here because this is going to be a fun activity. But I want to know the championship 4 that you have and the winner. So, Carl, I'm going to go with you first. You look a little surprised by this.
Oh man, put me on the spot.
But just remember that we do have the first 2 rounds, I think, are a bunch of wild card races in general and just wild card rounds. I mean, given that we have Atlanta this week, then they go to Watkins Glen and then Bristol. Like that's a tough 3-race stretch. And then you have, I think, the Roval, Talladega, and What else is in that? Shoot. It's not Homestead, is it?
I'm pulling stuff up right now. Watkins Glen, Bristol, Kansas.
Kansas.
let's
Kansas
see.
Talladega or Kansas Roval Talladega, something like that. Talladega
Kansas
Roval.
Dega Roval.
Yeah.
Kansas Dega
Yeah.
Roval.
First two
Vegas,
rounds, you have
Lawrenceville.
a road course and a super
No,
speedway.
no, no. Yeah, we go. So it's Atlanta this week. Glen, Bristol, Kansas, Talladega, the Roval, Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, and then Phoenix as the finale.
Yeah. That's gonna be. It's one of the
Wow.
toughest, most
Oh.
wild.
Man.
Schedules.
So you're asking me for the top 4 drivers I'm going to think are going to make
Yeah.
it to the
Who's
the
gonna make it to
and
Phoenix?
then the winner.
And then who's gonna win?
Oh man, looking at the drivers. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. 4 drivers: Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and I think Joey Logano is going to do
Wow.
some crazy stuff. It wouldn't be the first time.
But I don't think
But
so.
Joey Logano is going to pull something out and win, at least get into the championship 4. But
I think if you
my
can get to
win,
the championship 4, I think you could win it. But I just don't see him getting to the championship 4.
well, I hope he doesn't. Personally, I have a personal vendetta against Joey, but yeah, you got to be a realist too. But I think the winner of the 2024 Cup Series championship will be Tyler Reddick from 2311 Racing.
Yeah. That seems to be the popular pick right now. And I mean, how could it not be?
I think Tyler Reddick, he's that really quiet underdog. I know he's been disappointed in top 5 finishes where he feels like he's let a couple of wins slip away already this season. He's very well rounded as a driver, and looking at the variety of tracks, I think his consistency will take him to the championship 4. And I think, wasn't it in Xfinity a few years ago where he won? I don't think he was in the championship for Xfinity, but he won Phoenix. So he has some experience, and I think 2311 is really poised to make a huge splash, and this could be it. I have faith in Tyler Reddick.
No, especially this Toyotas and the Fords, especially at Phoenix, I feel like are really fast. I don't know. The Chevys might have something figured out by then, but from where it seems like Phoenix and like Gateway and New Hampshire and stuff like that, the Chevys struggle a little bit. And maybe they figured it out, but it's tough to pick a Chevy right now. Gavyn, who are your final 4 and your champion? I know you want to go with Logano too, but does your brain say differently?
Yeah, Larson for sure. I'll have to just go with the top 3 that we have right now: Larson, Bell, Reddick, and then Hamlin.
I'm surprised
Toyotas
both of
and a
y'all
Chevy.
had Hamlin in the
Picking it.
finale.
He's good. I don't know how he's 6th. Well, the penalty.
It's that penalty hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him.
No, I feel like he's just a good all-around driver.
Yeah.
And he's hungry. He knows he's in the end of his
Yeah.
career. He's got other focuses. He hates having that that goose egg for championship wins. He's practically a Hall of Famer with all the other wins, race wins, you name it. But he doesn't have that championship. And there's a hunger there. You can see it. You can hear it in his interviews. He wants it. And he wants it bad.
Yeah. Who's in a champion? Oh man. I want to choose Bell, but his luck at Phoenix is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Look at last year.
Except for this season.
When it
He
doesn't
won
matter.
in March. Yeah.
Well, we also have to take into account Toyota engine reliability is in question right now. So you gotta be careful. And with the track that you have to shift regularly, that could put a lot of strain on those engines. That's gonna be a tough one to battle.
Yeah, I don't really. I'd like to go with Larson, or Reddick, but I just don't. I feel like it'll be between Hamlin Bell.
For
But
that sake, I hope
I'd
it's Hamlin.
oof. I don't know, man.
It's tough. I feel like there's
Hamlin led
a
most
bunch
of
of good
Phoenix.
options.
I think he just has to be there at the end. I know Bell has problems with his pit crew. Hamlin does too, somewhat.
Kyle Larson's pit crew seems to be the class of the field.
Yeah. This is like the toughest one. Man. I think I'm just gonna go out and say C Bell. I feel like he's gonna redeem himself after last season. Poor Hamlin, but
For him, not breaking the cigar this year.
yeah.
I'm on the same thought as you, Gavin. My final four, I mean, it's Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and then Ryan Blaney as the fourth. I know that's basically just picking the favorites for the most part, but my champion is also C-Bell. I don't want it to be C-Bell. I have a personal vendetta against C-Bell for two reasons. One, he's from Norman, Oklahoma. And if you know anything about Norman, Oklahoma, it's the home of the Sooners. And I went to Oklahoma State, and the Sooners are absolutely terrible. I don't even know if he has any affiliation with the Sooners, but I just hate him because of it. And two, because he was a favorite driver of somebody that is not a great person. That's all I'll say. So for that reason, I don't want him to win, but at Phoenix, he was the class of the show. He was so much faster than everyone else in the spring. How can you not pick him out of that group? Kyle Larson, yeah, is definitely a good option, but I think C-Bell, I think it's his year, unfortunately. I'd love to see Hamlin or Brad.
I would like to see Christopher Bell. That would be fun to see him win that championship. I would like to see how he reacted.
Give
with
it to
that.
Harrison Burton for all I care. Imagine a Final Four: Harrison Burton, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and Daniel Suarez, or Alex Bowman. Either or, like that would be interesting.
Imagine Bowman winning the championship at Phoenix, hometown native.
I mean,
Oh man,
it would save his job apparently. That's been the rumor lately.
Oh, there's some crazy rumors about that.
Yeah.
It's a little wild.
I don't know if y'all saw they had media day yesterday for the playoffs, and
He was trying to shut that down.
yep, and Bob Pockrass asked him about it, and he's like, no, I made the calls, and everyone said it wasn't the case or whatever.
He didn't make it sound like it was set in stone yet, though.
No, but he seemed like very
He's just like, yeah, my
frustrated that
bosses
we're
are
talking
good.
about it. Like,
Yeah,
it seemed to irritate him.
yeah.
Which I don't know, kind of tells me that it might be true, to a degree at least. I don't think they would get rid of Bowman and just put because I know the rumor has been Justin Haley potentially to Hendrick, which to me I feel like that's a very odd change to make right now.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Well, especially when he signed an extension earlier this season through 2026. Like it's
Joy.
It's really odd to hear all these concerns when it's weird. The season's just been weird.
It has been
Or
weird.
does Zane Smith have a ride yet? I don't know if anything got announced with him yet. Maybe that's the reason.
There's
why
a lot of guys
that
haven't been announced. It's kind of cooled down because I think the charter situation is still being figured out. I know Brad got also asked about the charter, if they were adding a third charter. They rumored Ryan Preece to RFK in the third charter for next season, and Brad kind of giggled and said, "Not yet," or whatever. Like, wait about a month or so, and we'll announce something. So there seems to be something there, but and talk bad about Corey LaJoie all you want. He seems to be one of the nicest people, and I want him to succeed. And gosh. He's not going to get a ride next year, especially not the Bowman ride. But we can all hope. I don't know. Like, Carson Hocevar signed with Spire for next season. Is that right?
Put my boy
Yes.
Alfredo in that car.
I think so.
I mean, I don't think Alfredo's going to get it.
He's been working with Hendrick for something, but I don't.
Well,
He's
I don't
been
know.
doing some stuff at Hendrick, but I
It
don't
just
think
seems
he's
odd to me
the
that
ride.
they would get rid of Bowman when there aren't other drivers really available that are necessarily better than Bowman, in my opinion.
Mm.
It's
Trying to think of something.
it's hard to say because I think we're in this weird spot where everyone's looking for the new talent, but at the same time, they're wary of it versus keeping with the talent they already have. It may
Mhm.
not be as flashy and as prevalent as a lot of people say, but it's what they're used to, what they know. Because if you get a new driver, you have to get that new chemistry between the crew chief and the spotter and the driver and everything else. There's a lot of moving pieces. You may just be swapping a seat with the driver in a car, but all these other pieces got to be adjusted. The spotter, the crew chief, everything like that. So it's a hard. There's a lot of chess play, in my opinion, when you try to choose drivers and you're like, oh, I want to go for this driver who seems hot at Xfinity and stuff like that. So I
Right.
think it's very tricky, especially with these big teams, RCR, Hendricks, JGR. They're on that razor's edge where they want to keep that new talent coming, but they want to keep the talent they already have, and it's tough. It is really tough, especially with how different all the classes are. You have the truck series, which all should just be almost like a whole other league in itself.
Yeah.
Then you have the Xfinity series, which they're more of your solid axles and everything, your typical stock car from previous. Then you have the next gen with the independent rear suspension, sequential transmission, 5 speeds, one lug. There's so many differences between each class that it's getting harder and harder to determine the talent factor. And so there's a lot of touch and go, I feel.
And yes, but like if you were Hendrick in this situation, would you get rid of Bowman to get a mid-pack guy, like a almost guaranteed mid-pack guy? Like I could have seen them maybe trying to go for Barry if he was still available, since he had some ties to Junior Motorsports, obviously, and he ran for Chase a little bit last season. I just can't see them getting rid of Bowman unless they went for, I don't know the contract situation, but Jesse Love, let's just say, in Xfinity. Like, really make a splash. Get someone that could be someone really good. We don't know yet, but...
Well, I guess another question is, how do contracts work? Is it like the NFL, where if you have an existing contract and your current owner wants to adjust, does a new team have to pay up that contract? Does a new team have to pick up that contract? I don't know
my
much
understanding
about
is
driver
no.
contracts. But again, a contract, in my opinion, unless something crazy were to happen and something happened to Bowman, I don't see how Hendrick could get out of that scot-free. So I feel like Bowman is safe for the next couple of years, but when that contract is up, he better start performing better.
And
straight up.
You can definitely assume that, but just because they have a contract doesn't mean there isn't a clause of some performance clause, and if the performance is not met, it can be terminated early or whatever the case is. There could be any number of clauses that allow them to get out of it legally. Again, yeah, we don't see those contracts. I really wish they made contract information and details public like they do in other leagues, because it allows you to understand and kind of be an armchair GM a little bit more. And we have to kind of read between the lines and assume things here and there of, like the whole Kyle Busch stuff that was rumored of he's going to leave RCR early and go wherever. Like, well, we don't know if that's a possibility even. And
Watch him take the Hendrick car.
not a chance. Not a
Would take the
chance.
Hendrick.
I would love that, but not a chance.
You know, I think it would be really cool, and it's not going to happen because RCR is kind of a dumpster fire right now. But if Kyle were to keep racing, get picked up by a smaller team to have, maybe a 2-car team, and see that success and see where that could go.
He's already with
But
a 2-car team.
I thought they had 3.
They have like a part-time.
Like a part-time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's that. But I mean, and that's the crazy thing about RCR. Like, they were such a staple in NASCAR. What has happened these past couple of years? What is going on? and you have this generational talent, Hall of Fame talent of Kyle Busch, and he went from being upset at second and third place finishes to where that's what he's aiming for at this point because that's all he can get. He's had a good couple of races, but this isn't the form we're used to seeing, and a lot of blame has been put on the equipment. And why? Where is all these teams? So there's so much we don't understand. We love watching the sport, we love following the sport, but there's so much we don't understand, and I think that's what drives a lot of people crazy. Is NASCAR's very kind of tongue-in-cheek about a lot of their process, the charter system, the contract system, everything else. They don't put a lot of that out there. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So it's really odd. It's just a really odd situation for 6 drivers. It seems like 4 to 6 drivers. It's just a weird situation,
if not more. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more silly season stuff within the next couple of months at least. But we'll be here for it, and we will cover that.
Yeah, buddy.
Just looking over the entry list for this week's race. We have 38 drivers. 2 additional drivers. JJ Yaley will be driving the 44 car. We know how fast that car has been.
Blazing fast.
Blazing fast. I'm trying to see the other part-time entrant. Is it SVG? It is SVG.
Yeah. He needs that super speedway experience.
He does. Oh, and BJ McLeod's racing.
Oh, well, he'll be out early.
I think BJ has a better chance than JJ Yaley.
Well, they'll probably take each other on.
No. That 44 car, anytime it's run a super speedway, it's been so far off the pace. Like, it's pathetic. I don't know where they get their equipment from, but it's not working.
It's like the back marker of the back marker.
Yeah, it reminds me of Start and Park time period of NASCAR. Yeah. Like, it's that bad. But no, Atlanta Super Speedway this weekend for the Quaker State 400. The race is on Sunday.
Sunday afternoon.
Into the early evening, potentially. Who do y'all have winning?
It's hard because it's a super speedway.
Yeah.
What I can say is I would love another race and another finish like we saw in the spring.
Yeah, who won it?
You cannot beat those. That was Daniel Suarez.
So is that who you're going with?
Oh, no. No, because...
Back-to-back photo finish wins?
Lightning strikes once, all right. I do say that I do think we're going to find a new winner. And I will take Richard's spot here and say Kyle Busch. He's been close. He had a good run at Daytona. I think Kyle Busch is finding something, and he wants to keep that streak alive for the longest streak of wins consecutive seasons. So I think Kyle's figuring something out. He may have something for you.
All right. And Gavin, who you got this weekend?
I want to say Todd Gilliland.
I was going to say
it. He was faster this Daytona. I feel like he's gonna. If the Fords are so fast on super speedways, and seeing his speed, I think he can pull it off. I think he'll be the big underdog winner.
I'll branch off on yours, and I will also pick a new winner. So I will go Michael McDowell, the other half of Todd Gilliland.
Hey, front row.
Yeah, front row again. I think McDowell overdrove Daytona just to try to get into the playoff, and probably made some moves he didn't want to. And now that playoffs are around and they're going to go to a similar style of race, that he's not going to try to fight for that playoff spot. He can just try to win it, actually, on a normal circumstance. Yeah.
Win for a win. That's
win
all it
for a
is.
win, yeah, and nothing else. So where is he going? He's going to... Is he going to Rick Ware?
Todd?
No, Michael. Was it Rick Ware or was it Spire? I don't remember. It was something like that.
Spire. I think it was Spire.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a tough move, but especially how fast the front row cars have been at super speedways this season. And I mean, someone else, Logano's someone to look for at Atlanta. He's won there in the super
If he
speedway.
doesn't get in a crash, he's winning.
Okay.
He just got on all the crashes. He's been up. He gets wrecked up from like the very front. He just can't. Atlanta, when he won Atlanta, he led the whole freaking thing.
Yes, and it was kind of boring, but
Yes. They always have a good car. He gets wrecked out all the time.
Atlanta
if
is
he
though
doesn't get wrecked,
so
then
much more
I would
difficult
pick
than
up
other
a
super
Tiger.
speedways. Of like the wrecks happen really quick, and you can't really avoid them. There's nowhere to go. So it's even more of a wild card than I would say like Daytona or Talladega are, just because it's so much easier to get involved in something of
Well,
what you're
the
doing.
checkups, because you actually have to worry about tire wear. It's a 1.5-mile super speedway, so it's not like you have 2.5 miles to go around and just punch the gas and turn left. You have to worry about tire wear. They can race 3 wide, but it's actually a narrow track. It's Atlanta is kind of a freak show of tracks. We've talked about it before. They probably should have done it in Texas, but Atlanta's an interesting place to do that, and it's turned out a lot of people may not have liked it. It's a different style of racing, but I think the races it have on this repave has been very entertaining, especially the finishes. Again, tire wear is going to be huge. It could be a fuel run, but I don't think so. I think we're going to have some wrecks, and it's going to be kind of a straight race. So I'm excited for it. I think I really like the new Atlanta repave. I haven't had an issue with it. It's hard to race. It's fun to race. It's fun to watch. It's a good track in my opinion.
It's not as fun for a driver, but a fan, it's great.
Yeah.
What were we saying, Gavyn?
Anybody betting on another blowover?
I know that's been a little bit of the talk this week, and there's also been some hypothesis about that fin. It made the cars slightly faster at Daytona. They set new track records in speed in the next gen at Daytona, and also since they're going to Atlanta now for the first time with that fin, it's been hypothesized that it creates extra downforce, which then creates more grip and speed in the corners. So are we going to have more tire wear than we've had previously because there's more full on throttle time because you have the grip? Open up. It
Depends.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it's also going to be hotter than it was last time at Atlanta, which can make it more interesting too. Was this the race last year where the rain came into play at the end of it, and like they were racing to the end? 'Cause there was a thunderstorm coming or something like that. I think Willie B won it last year.
I want to say yes. I think that is the situation. But with this new fin, that gives you more aero downforce, gives you more aero grip. If it gives you more speed, obviously it's going to wear a little more. The way the track develops as the run goes on, it seems like you start early, you take the inside lane, you take the shorter way around the track. As the run goes on, everyone starts migrating to the high side. And it's crazy is the way you pull off a pass there is you do the side draft quick early, you do a kind of a dive down to the inside, do a slide job. It's crazy how that track seems to be racing lately. But it's going to be hard to say what it does to the tire wear. I do think, to hit on Gavyn's, I do think we're going to see another blowover. Richard is actually, talking to Richard, and he's adamant about this. And looking at it, I think he's right. Is yes, the roof and the C pillars are all finned and everything, but that's disrupting the air and allowing all the air underneath the bottom of the car, which is so smooth. We saw these last couple of races how smooth those cars are. It is allowing for faster air to go underneath the car and allowing that lift. William Maddox, I don't know if he's listening here, but he was talking about lift and everything because he's working for his pilot's license, and he's getting to know all of that information and know that kind of physics behind it. It's starting to make sense, and I don't think NASCAR wants to do anything to the underside of these cars because there was a lot of research, a lot of work going into the underside of the car, so that's why they added that fin. I do agree with Richard, and I think it's causing, or at least not helping. I can't say causing more issues, but it's definitely not helping.
Yeah, no, that super smooth underbody definitely just catches everything. There's nothing really to impede airflow in different directions and disturb the lift, but it becomes a big kite once it gets turned around essentially and lifted up, and then all the air is just pushing up and flipping it. Who do you think is going to blow over?
Another
it's
Ford,
on
there.
probably.
Say that again.
I said another Ford, probably.
Well, you had LaJoy
I hope
and you've
it's
had
Joey
Barry.
Logano.
Always blown
I
over.
hope it's Logano.
I'll say he already did, and I don't even remember when it was. He blew over at Talladega in an Auto Trader car, which he's racing in this weekend. So
That was 2022, I think, actually.
it
Daytona.
wasn't a next gen. It was
You sure?
it was 2020 or 2021. It was
Oh,
definitely the
that's
Gen
right.
6.
It was before the Mustang. It
Um,
was the not the Taurus, but whatever they were doing.
It was the Mustang. They switched to Mustang in 2019, and this happened like 2020 or 2021. But I think I could see Cindric blowing over.
I'm down. I'll ride that. Can we bet on that?
I also think another thing that could be causing is how, talking about the Gen 6 stuff, I feel like those sat much lower than what these next gens sit. I feel like these next gens have to sit a little bit higher for whatever reason, and I feel like that just puts more air underneath the car.
I think maybe like.
I have to find some photos, but the next gens were
Hello,
grounded.
Isaiah. Thank you for joining in, by the way.
What's up?
But I think, like, the way the front splitter is now, it doesn't allow it to drag as much as, I guess, the Gen 6, you know what I mean? Like, it's a thicker piece, maybe. The Gen 6s, you did see some of them really squatting sometimes and getting as close and sucking up to the ground. But they also didn't have a smooth underbody, which prevents the car from really sucking onto the ground. Yeah, just really flat edges around the body, keeping it pinned down to the ground.
Yeah. Look at photos.
Isaiah's congratulating you, Gavyn,
Isaiah,
on
I
your
think
win.
I agree with that.
Oh, where's that?
He says he would have
Gavyn
loved
doesn't
to see
deserve
that
it.
race gone green or gone if a caution didn't come out with 30 to go.
Gavin's won too many races. Stop congratulating.
He's used to it by now. It's okay.
Just another trophy. I mean, if we had a trophy for each win, I would love to see Gavin's trophy room.
Man,
Oh man, he would need like a whole other house at this point.
I got the Wicked one. That's the only trophy I got.
That's the only trophy we've ever given out, or that I've ever seen given out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, hey, you got a butt kicker too. That's technically a trophy.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I technically got two, but I
Yeah,
gave one to
yeah,
Richard.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
You're the reason why
Sorry,
Richard
Steven, I
got
didn't give you a
faster.
second one.
Yeah, come on. I earned mine
It
fair and
helped him.
square.
It helped him a lot, to be honest. He really.
Oh yeah. Oh, Richard absolutely.
Also, him
loves that
getting
butt
another
kicker.
wheel and stuff too helps a little bit.
That's true.
But
Definitely.
But, no. Hey, what else want to cover?
I do want to say this is crazy news, and we mentioned this before the podcast. So Martin Truex, as we know, is retiring at the end of the season as a full-time driver.
Oh,
But there's already push for either 2311 or JGR to front a car for the Daytona 500.
I heard it was
crew
confirmed.
chief- It's there's still no. They're trying to figure out the logistics. They don't have a
Okay.
car. They don't have a car for him yet, but they do have a crew chief, Cole Pern. And I am really excited because really, with the wins at the Southern 500, two of them, the Charlotte 600, the Coca-Cola 600, he's won. He didn't get a chance to win the Brickyard, but if he can win the Daytona 500, the win that has eluded him for his entire career, a super speedway period, he has 0 super speedway wins.
That's crazy.
That's absolutely crazy.
In
He
20
came close
plus
to it in
years?
2016,
16,
2017,
500.
where
Oh, yeah.
Denny edged him out by 0.003 of a second.
Yep.
That much. He was that close. So what what is? I mean, we kind of have that situation in the league now, but what if Martin comes in after retirement, not a full-time driver, comes and wins the 500? Already starting, silly season's already started. We're talking about contracts and stuff like that. Martin comes out, not even a full-time driver, wins the Daytona 500, steals a win from a full-time driver from the playoffs. Already, we're already talking the next season, 2025. Me personally, obviously, I'm a fan. I would love. I've been rooting for him every single super speedway race, every single one, and none of his strategies work. I've seen him go, "Oh, I'm going to stay at the front and not get wrecked," and he gets wrecked. "Oh, I'm going to lean at the back and try to avoid everything." Still gets caught up in it. So again, that just goes to prove how crazy those super speedway races are. But I would love to see. I mean, I love to see any kind of part-time driver just come in and totally mess up any kind of the playoff system that they have now. I absolutely love to see it. So, especially with SVG's win at the Chicago Street Course last year, he took a win away from a full-time driver for a playoff spot. I think it's going to be huge, and silly season's just going to roll on and just keep rolling on until next year.
Truex goes to Daytona as a part-time driver, wins it, and then signs a full-time deal for the rest of the season.
Oh, guys, I still have it. I want to race some more. Let's do this.
Yeah.
That'd be good to see. That would be good to see for sure. I mean, he has every. I'm sure he has a Bristol Night win as well. Just to add another crown jewel there, and he has a championship. But I mean, yeah, that's the only thing you're missing. That's.
He also has a truck win at Dirt Bristol.
Oh, well, there you go.
I remember that. So does Logano.
Boo.
Logano hasn't done anything. His whole career, he's a sham.
He's only won, 2 championships?
Mickey Mouse championships.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But
He could complain about the ones that he should have won, like Hamlin. When he's 15 and 14 could have been one if he didn't.
Hamlin should have 6 titles.
Good issue. Yeah. There's a lot of stats out there of.
You know what?
like,
There's
could
no
have been,
excuse.
and Hamlin
Kurt
could have
Busch
won a lot,
lost
but,
a tire at Homestead and came back to win it.
Man, I remember watching that. That was like my first full season
but
of
on like the
NASCAR.
final restart.
Uh,
That was
Oh,
my
man.
first.
Carl
I thought it
Edwards.
wasn't first, but
and Carl Edwards just
Carl
walks
Edwards.
away from the
Right.
sport.
oh man, I really wish it won 16, but it was
Me
Johnson.
too.
Logano
It
ended.
was-
Logano ended Carl Edwards' career.
Essentially,
You mean Carl Edwards blocked his chances at winning a championship?
No, I said
was
what
my
I meant, and I meant what I said.
Oh, man.
It was a block, and it was a bad block.
It
But-
was down to the freaking paint and the.
Yeah. But if
Like driving
Logano
someone to the moon,
wasn't
like
driving
Captain
that
Newport.
crazy, then it wouldn't have happened.
Oh well, Logano was driving crazy for he was trying to make a 3-wide move for a championship.
How dare he try to race in a
Crazy.
race, especially the championship race?
Oh yeah. Sure. And also Logano could have won 2020. I was there, but he took the lead after the another pit stop problem. He had multiple, not just championship but playoff issues at Phoenix. 2019, they flip-flopped his left sides and right sides, and he went from a
Oh,
winning car
gosh.
to the worst car on track.
I remember that. That
What was
happened to Martin,
Logano's-
too.
That's crazy how big
Yeah,
of a difference that can
I don't know
make.
how they can screw that up. That's so stupid.
Well, they're different sizes. Or at least they were back when they were doing the
Yes.
5 They were different sizes. Like, how do you mess
It's
that up?
ridiculous. And then 2020, they don't even know what the problem was. There was just a huge vibration. Logano couldn't even see clearly at Phoenix when he
jeez.
took like a second or two gap out of green flag pit stop to Elliott. So Logano could have had 4 or 5 by now.
That
But
sounds like a drive shaft
a
problem.
lot of guys can say that. So
Yeah, there's been a lot of guys that just barely miss
I
on
feel like Logano was
multiple times.
this close to it multiple times. He got those tires in 2016, but this got in some bad dirty air for one corner and got tight. If he didn't get tight, he would have gotten to Johnson.
And then Jimmy wouldn't be 7-time.
Yeah.
2 last things I want to go over, and then if anything else y'all want to do. I know NASCAR had been testing new tires at Watkins Glen, and Watkins Glen came back with 4-second fall off.
Ooh.
Yeah, Watkins
Nice.
Glen out of all places, kind of surprising. So it's something to look forward to. Watkins Glen has had really long green flag runs lately. I don't remember the last caution there besides Elliott running out of gas at the end of last season. But yeah, so that's something to look forward to. And add a different strategy to the road course side of things, and then they also confirmed for the Bristol Night Race that they will be bringing back the same tire that they had for the Bristol Spring Race. Will we see a similar result? We don't know, but
I think so. I think both those fall into Hamlin's hands. I feel like he's just he's like the best at tire saving.
he is. But I mean, road courses is a whole different story for Denny. He struggles mightily.
He's decent at road courses.
Used to be.
Didn't he win Watkins Glen once? I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe 10 years
he was doing good
ago.
at Sonoma until he blew an engine.
In the next gen era, he has not been good on road courses. Don't know if that has anything to change there, but
He got the pole at the Glen last year, and he was up front, and Byron.
But he was up front because you cannot pass.
Yeah.
Hey, track position is king.
It is king. It is king at Watkins Glen for sure.
You know, talking about the tires at Bristol, if they're going to bring that tire back, I think that is very interesting. I don't think we're going to see what we saw. Goodyear learned some things, the drivers learned some things, and the crew chief learned some things. It was, trial by fire, but all of the entities involved learned some stuff. I think we're going to see a more exciting race, actually, at Bristol. Maybe not as extreme tire wear, because the crew chiefs know how to set it up a little better. The drivers understand the tire a little better and how to save it. But I think we're going to just see just as much excitement with that wear. I'm excited, and I was unaware of the tire test at Watkins Glen. I'd love a 4-second fall off. That's unbelievable. So I am excited to see that and what it causes, because I know with the wear, worn tires, flat tires. We've seen it, all season. It seems like with worn tires. So that's going to be exciting. And then bringing it into the playoffs like this, it's just going to add that much more complexity to it. It's going to be fun to watch.
4 seconds in one lap of just thinking if you pit one lap earlier than someone else, like gaining 4 seconds just right there is
that could be multiple spots depending on where you're on the field.
Oh yeah, that can get you from fifth to first.
Easy.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. Watkins Glen has been boring these past couple of years, unfortunately. Growing up, when NASCAR only had 2 road courses, I think that was my favorite, just because it looked fun. It's a fast road course; it's not very technical, and which makes it hard to pass because of how fast it is, and there's not many passing areas without getting wrecked, as Gavyn knows at Watkins Glen. But yeah. Definitely interesting. All for tire wear and tire fall off anywhere we go. And I hope Bristol is as chaotic as it was in the spring.
Well, that could that also let's pull it into our realm of existence. Could that impact how iRacing updates the tire model for road courses? Because right now you could run a 45 lap road course race and not have to change tires at all because there's virtually no wear. So will that also affect us, do we think?
Probably not extremely, at least at first. I think iRacing has gotten better, and Gavyn can probably speak to it more. But I think iRacing has gotten better, at least over the past year or two, on the next-gen road course tire model, at least. It does wear a little bit more in certain scenarios. Very slightly, but at first it did not do anything.
The car just handles worse, so you burn the tires a little bit more with how slightly worse it drives.
Right. And we saw it at Chicago Street Course. You did want to take tires at some point, but when you got on the new tires, it was tough at first, but then you were much faster a couple laps in. They're going the right direction, but I don't think we're going to have any big, wild change to that anytime soon. Now, if they bring the Bristol tire into iRacing, now we're talking.
I was like,
That would be interesting. That would be fun.
Yeah, I did there was a recruitment race for WSSR at Bristol, and I remember I think I was in mid pack there, and it was fun. I was like, okay, cool. Started the race, and I launched. I was like, oh man, these guys are slow. I don't know what's going on. So I'm going 5 laps. I'm like in the top 5. I qualified, 20th, whatever. I'm in the top 5. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. What am I going on? What's happening? 5 laps later. Yeah, there's no cornering, there's no turning. I'm dropping like a rock, and it's honestly that's the most I've ever felt like that. Is 5 laps and it was gone. It was the most insane sensation I've ever felt in my life, and when you're not prepared for it, you just want to go and drive like you normally do. It was nuts. It was absolutely insane how that tire felt. So it's interesting in how NASCAR, Goodyear, and they all get together and change these tire compounds. It's curious because they're constantly learning, they're constantly trying to change stuff to better the product, to better, strategy versus longevity. Obviously, the money is involved, so you want to make them cheap, but you want to make them abundant. It's all these things factored together, and it's interesting to see how NASCAR and Goodyear have handled it. And right now, I think just in recent recollection, I think they've done more for this tire this year than they have since the next gen has come out. So this is interesting to see at the very least.
And Bristol in the next gen has always been, in my opinion, the track where you can absolutely destroy your tires, more so than anywhere else. I feel like if you drive it really hard, you will drop like a rock. And we saw that in our race of some guys drove it really hard early in the stage 1, and then we went green for a long time. And what did we end up with, 7 cars on the lead lap or something like that after the first stage? Like, because if you ran too hard early and were not making passes, it was only going to bite you in the end. That's always been. I remember at one point I think it was Wicked, the last season of Wicked, Gavyn, and I was running Bristol, and you were spotting for me or whatever at the time, just because you weren't racing or something. And
yeah, I quit.
I had the problem of also burning up my tires, and then you told me to slow down my corner, and I'm like, well, why do I got to go slow to go fast? And it worked wonders. But yeah.
Yeah, and then you proved yourself a little bit at Bristol a couple weeks ago.
Yep, I learned a lot
from
my time in Bristol.
Up to, I think Isaiah.
Yep.
Isaiah won that race.
He did. Yeah. He did, but I definitely learned a lot from that moment of saving tires at Bristol. I think that's more important than anything, of let people pass you early on and save as much as you can. But because in that long run, it's really going to help you. And similar at like Dover, kind of deal. If you drive it too hard early on, it's only going to kill you later. Save as much as you can. But that's it for me. Y'all have anything else you want to cover? I know we just passed the 2-hour mark a little bit ago.
I think we covered everything, actually.
Well, awesome. Well, Gavyn, thank you so much for hopping in and filling in for Richard. Richard, you've been fired. Obviously, want to shout out our sponsors one final time. Butt Kicker, the leader in haptic, Sundance Pizza, the top pizza and ice cream in Wickenburg, Ascendance Trucks, and Ideal Lease. Thank you all so much. Please tune in to the Not Beer 250 at Las Vegas on September 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern on Pit Stop TV's YouTube channel, and we will post links in our on our socials. At that time. And Gavyn, are you familiar with our send off?
Yes.
All right, Carl, start us off.
I'm last.
You are last, and all together at the end.
All right, we ready?
Ready.
Buckle it up.
Buckle it up.
Buckle it up.
Or you'll die. Awesome. We'll catch y'all next week.